My name is Robert Glasgow. I'm the CEO and one of the founders of Webgains, which is an affiliate network, operates in about 8 countries now. Our base is in the UK, but I'm Australian, and Australians, as you guys may know, tend to be fairly informal. So if you want to interrupt with questions, please feel free, because otherwise this is going to get a little bit academic. Rolling out across Europe. Why would you want to listen to me about this? Well, I've done this twice before. My background is really in management consulting, but I have done this for real twice. Once with alladvantage.com, which was a new breed of online marketing companies. I don't know if anybody here remembers it. Usually people put their hand out and ask me for money if they do remember it, because All Advantage paid people to surf on the internet. It started in California with some Stanford grads, and we rolled out pretty much globally. We had about 300 employees, and we burnt through $180 million, which was quite an experience. I was the VP of Europe, and we rolled out in Europe across three different countries, and we used those countries as a hub to roll out into satellite countries. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that later on. All Advantage was really a kind of a forerunner to behavioural marketing. We had a downloadable view bar that used to read the URL of where our consumers surfed and pay them for having this view bar open. And then the theory was we could serve targeted advertising to this view bar depending on where people had been surfing. It was a great theory, but the execution lacked a bit, shall we say. The second rollout I've been involved in is Webgains. Just to give you a bit of background, we started Webgains in 2005 in the UK, and we built market presence in the UK during 2005. And my wife is French, and my partner's wife is German, and so part of our vision was always to build a company that was going to be bigger than just the UK. We wanted to roll out in Europe, and we wanted the company to be bigger and multinational. For a number of reasons, which I'll go into. We thought about how we're going to do this, and after the first year we'd lost about $1 million, and we thought, well, this isn't going to go too quickly if we really want to get into Europe. So we looked at different ways of rolling a company out, and one of the best ways was for us to sell the company to another company that had infrastructure that we could use. And again, I'll go into more detail of that when we get to it. Apologies for the theories really is because, I mean, there are lots of different models, but I've picked 4 models of how you can roll out to Europe. And so I'll go into each of the models in turn into a little bit of detail. But also, I wanted to talk about what you need to do to be successful and what things you really need to avoid. And I also want to give you a flavour of affiliate marketing in Europe. My guess is that it's similar to the US, but probably we have our own quirks in Europe. And definitely within the European setup, the markets are incredibly different. Finally, because I'm a network, I want to tell you how our network can help you do this more easily, either from an affiliate side or a merchant side. So why do you want to roll out? Well, first of all, I think we're all incredibly privileged to be part of an industry that's grown so incredibly quickly and that continues to grow. And growth is one of the underlying factors of why we make business decisions. And traditionally, you either grow into an adjacent product area or you grow geographically into an adjacent geographic area. And what I'm here to talk about really is growing into an adjacent geographic area. So in order to maintain your growth or to continue to grow, it's quite easy to move into a different geographic area. Secondly, you might want to spread your risk. I know that there's a lot of kind of hubbub in the States about nexus taxes, and there are some things happening within the affiliate marketing industry in the US which might lead you to think that there are easier pickings to be had somewhere else, and therefore you can spread the risk of your business model by moving into another market. You also might want to have early mover advantage. Let's say you have a bespoke technology or a technology you've come across and applied successfully. You might want to move that into a market where that technology doesn't exist yet and do a bit of a land grab. A good example of that might be a cashback site or cashback technology or discount voucher technology, where a lot of the markets in Europe still don't have these models, and it's pretty much up for grabs. And finally, for fun. I mean, you know, Europe's a great place. Pretty old, but you know, it's a great place. There's a lot of good stuff happens. And it's fun, you know, maintaining this growth in a new challenging environment is really interesting. And for me, having fun at what you're doing is really what it's all about. 4 different models I want to talk about. The first one is a remote rollout, where you kind of just sit in your home country and you do everything remotely. And there are advantages and disadvantages to that, and we'll go through them in a minute. The second one is an organic rollout. What I mean by an organic rollout is you move into one country, you get established there, you get everything going smoothly, then you move into the next country. And again, there are some advantages and disadvantages. You can also set up a hub or a series of hubs. A region like Europe really lends itself to this, where you can pick central markets, and then you can have satellite countries around that market. And that's really what we did with All Advantage. And then you can also merger or partner with somebody who already has existing infrastructure. And for me, that's really the easiest way of doing it, although there are certain compromises you have to make. So for remote rollout, what are the advantages? It is incredibly low cost, and it's probably also fairly risk-free. I mean, you're not risking very much if you're just staying in your own country. You don't have any infrastructure to build or maintain. All you've got to do is get the technology right in a lot of cases. The disadvantages for that, you usually have pretty poor customer service. You're operating in a different time zone, for example. You don't really have a lot of knowledge about what's happening on a local level. And it's difficult to get traction in the markets, especially if you're not traveling a lot, you're not being in the market to kind of understand how they work. This is a merchant called Yes Asia. They run everything pretty much from Hong Kong. They're big I think they're big in the US, they're certainly big in Europe. And they run everything from Hong Kong. They have one website. It detects IP address automatically for the consumer, changes the website. I'm not going to use this. I'm sure there's a pointer on here somewhere, but I don't know where. But it has it automatically detects the IP address and therefore changes the currency, and it'll change the language as well. This is a company called BigPoint. They're actually based in Germany. They sell games, and more importantly, they sell paraphernalia around those games. And they have different websites for each country they're in. And it operates as a kind of a franchise model. So even though they run it from Germany, it's entirely different websites. They have to update all the content in different languages. They run customer support in different languages. So it's a lot more complex business model, but still part of the same remote kind of rollout. An organic rollout, the big advantage of it is that it's controlled. You can do it at your own pace. You can roll into one country, then you can just park there. If you don't want to go any further, you can stay there. So you can pick and choose. You can pick the low-hanging fruit, if you like. The disadvantage is, the main one for me is that it's incredibly expensive and so time-consuming, because you've got to get in there, you've got to establish an office, you've got to recruit people, you've got to see whether your product set is legally conversant in that country. And from a kind of a senior management point of view, the management tends to be spread very thinly. This is a big UK affiliate called Traffic Broker. They have offices, a couple of offices in the UK. They're headquartered in London, but they're also in Tokyo and Bangalore. So they're obviously targeting up-and-coming markets like India, and going for markets where maybe they have an association there, which has enabled them to get into that market easily. But certainly the market has size and depth, so for them it's less risky. The hub rollout, the advantages of that is that it's relatively fast. You can cover off the major markets. This is one we did with All Advantage. We did France, Germany, and the UK, and Europe. You can also use those hubs as centres for the satellite countries around those, and that works reasonably well where you've got a reasonable homogeneous sub-region like the Nordic, for example, where you've got Norway, Sweden, Finland, and Denmark. The disadvantage is it's relatively expensive. You need to establish a number of offices. You do have potential language issues. You're trying to provide customer service in one country in languages from a number of countries, and that's pretty tough. And you've got cultural issues. For example, within the Nordic sub-region that I just cited, the Swedes don't get on too well with the Danes, and the Norwegians don't get on too well with the Swedes either. So, you have to understand the kind of nuances within the sub-market. The merger partner rollout, I think, is the easiest one, but again, there are significant disadvantages to that. You do sacrifice your independence. You do end up with brands coexisting next to each other, and that's always difficult. As we all know, it's difficult living with someone else. I mean, what we've done in Webgains is that we've established our own teams within the AdPepper offices. For those of you who don't know, AdPepper is a kind of a traditional sales house repping publishers, and they also have a couple of other platforms. They have an iLead platform, which is a lead gen platform, but they operate outside of affiliate marketing. They don't really do CPA marketing, they do CPM and CPC. So for us, it's been a very good product fit. However, having said that, because affiliate marketing is a lot more complex than what they do, we need our own specialist teams within their offices, and those teams have to coexist with the AdPepper teams. And it doesn't happen often, but it can be that we're pitching the same client for the same budgets. Not very often. So one second. Thank you. So what do we have to do to succeed in this? Without any kind of doubt, the most important thing is to plan thoroughly. And I've seen a number of rollouts and mergers that have gone horribly wrong because people really haven't planned as well as they should have. You need to do your homework. You need to understand the market, the population in the market, the cultural mores. You need to understand the competitors in the market, the tools that are used, the legislation. You need to understand the tax consequences of what you're doing. And I would always recommend that you build a fact base. I mean, you have to have all this in a kind of a central database where you can access and helps you make business decisions. In essence, you really need to know how you're going to do everything, when you're going to do it, where you're going to do it, and who's going to do it, way, way, way before you even start doing it. Otherwise, you're risking all of your resources and your reputation in a new market. I would also encourage you to build contingencies into the plan because it won't go according to the plan, that's for sure. And so you need to have some slack in the plan. You need to have some contingencies in case things overrun. And you really do need to make somebody accountable for this. If it does go wrong, then somebody has to have his bottom kicked. And equally, if it succeeds, then somebody has to get a good pat on the back. So you have to align your incentives with what you're trying to do and make somebody directly responsible for that. Some more imperatives. The thing about thinking globally and acting locally, it really is true. You need to localize. Localize your website, get the language right, get your customer service localized, get an appreciation of the culture, and you need to conform to the local laws. And then you need to recruit properly. I think recruiting in the kind of the two instances I've cited where I've been involved, recruiting's always been the most difficult thing. Especially if you're trying to manage it from a long way away, because it is difficult. You're putting absolute trust in somebody to carry the can on it. So, Europe. It's incredibly fragmented. There are a lot of countries over there. But within each country, there's a lot of networks. I mean, I know in the US you guys think you've got a lot of networks, but I mean, you take Sweden. Sweden's got 25 local affiliate networks that didn't exist 3 years ago. So a small country like the Netherlands has got 10, and that's not counting the kind of big pan-European ones or the American ones. So there's a lot of networks in most countries in Europe. There are some pan-European networks, but they tend to make their money in the big countries that really are driven by a reasonable amount of retail or transactional-based commerce. So generally, the UK, Germany, maybe France cross-subsidise all the smaller countries. I mean, you can't really set up shop in Lithuania and hope to be making money anytime soon. There are a few affiliates who operate across multiple markets, but they tend to do so from their home base. Traffic Broker is a pretty rare example for me. Not many affiliates establish offices. There are some, but not many. And different types of affiliates are strongest in different markets. For example, database manipulation for content affiliates happens just automatically. It's just a given in the UK, but in Denmark they don't really know about it and they haven't really done it. So there's a lot of opportunity, that presents a lot of opportunities as well. Cashback is only just starting in some countries. Discount vouchers has only just been legalised in Denmark, for example. There are low barriers to selling internationally in Europe. That allows merchants to, I mean, it's not just the euro, but bringing down all of the kind of the customs barriers and the trade barriers has allowed merchants to expand fairly easily across borders. So the idea of the European Union is it will harmonise prices across the whole thing, and online certainly adding to that. Banking regulations are also being harmonised, but we're certainly not there yet. It will happen in the next couple of years. The UK is a stunning example of not harmonising. For example, to send one of you guys a cheque or an electronic payment from the UK cost me about, I don't know, $25, $30. To send somebody in France an electronic payment from the UK costs about $30. From France it costs about 70 euro cents, which is about $1, I suppose. So the continental European countries have been much better at harmonising their banking laws before the UK. And in some countries we've had really quick adoption of some of these new formats like cashback and voucher codes. CPA is still going from strength to strength, and I think you guys will all recognise that that's driven by the kind of the low risk that advertisers or merchants associate with CPA advertising. It's still growing very strongly in all markets that I know about, and I think that will continue to happen. Because of the recession, but not just because, I mean, consumers will always go where the money is and the best deal is. Consumers are really turning to the voucher code and cashback sites, and that has really expanded incredibly, certainly in the UK and in a lot of the continental countries. There are issues in the UK, which I don't know whether you have in the US, around the last click wins solution. It's a fairly crude solution, I think, to a really interesting problem. And there's been a lot of talk amongst the networks about how we address this problem, whether we shouldn't be apportioning different rewards for different affiliates as they participate in the customer journey. So rather than just rewarding the last click, we would actually look at the whole customer journey and then reward multiple affiliates different parts of the commission. It's an interesting theory. I mean, the technological challenges, I think, at the moment are still a bit too difficult for us to move quickly. Plus, of course, they're networks, so the networks are never going to agree on a common code of conduct. Although having said that, the IAB, certainly in the UK, is going a long way to driving the networks to work more closely together. We're putting out a lot of white papers and best policy practice and all that sort of stuff. So, you know, there is a kind of a coming together of the networks to represent the industry more in the UK. Affiliates calling, not just affiliates, but the IAB as well, actually, calling for greater emphasis on transparency and communication. And in Webgains, we built a new kind of communication centre that allows affiliates to communicate with us and for us to communicate with them however they want. So they don't just choose the format, but they choose how often and when and etc. We've also, on the transparency issue, just developed a tool called SiteSeeker. Basically, SiteSeeker is based on a technology called iSense. It's a semantic targeting technology. It was built by a guy called David Crystal. He's a professor in the UK. And what it does is it looks, instead of just looking at keywords, it looks at the association between the words on a page, and it gives the full meaning of a web page rather than just picking out keywords. And the classic examples are things like the keyword depression, where Google, for example, somebody might find that word depression and then show ads for pharmacy or medical solutions to depression, but actually the depression might be talking about a meteorological problem, and therefore umbrellas might be a more relevant ad. What we've done with SiteSeeker is we've just used the technology in an affiliate sense. We look at all the traffic that our affiliates send us, and we then classify their traffic into different categories and show that to them, and we can see it, and some of it gets shown to the merchants as well. So often we find that an affiliate will classify himself into just one or two very narrow categories, but may have content and traffic coming from lots of different categories. And we would never know that because affiliates are notoriously slack at categorizing themselves. But this technology allows us to get a very accurate reading on where our traffic comes from and then pitch the affiliates with other offers in sectors that they may not be getting offers from at the moment. It's enough of an aside on SiteSeeker. We're finding more agencies are getting involved with the affiliate marketing space. I think it's pretty big in the US, but I don't know that for a fact. In the UK, certainly they've been poaching a lot of the network staff, building their own affiliate marketing teams. Again, I think it goes back to the low-risk model that CPA is all about, and I think advertisers have been forcing the agencies down this road. But it is interesting to see, and it's certainly a great development in the kind of legitimisation of affiliate marketing as an industry. Agencies are also setting up their own networks, which obviously we don't like, but there's a lot of white label solutions out there. There's a lot of agencies who have written their own affiliate marketing technologies. It'll be interesting to see how it develops, whether agencies want to actually do all that work as well as representing their clients. I think the jury's out on that. Fraud has continued to be a problem for us, and most networks in Europe, I think, have the same problem. Most of it's around credit cards. Most of it comes from China and Indonesia. We're a step away from sharing information on fraudulent affiliates or any kind of fraud, but I imagine that will happen. Merchants are also consolidating down to fewer networks. A couple of years ago, merchants would happily sign up to 3 or 4 different networks, thinking that there was different affiliate bases in each network. I think they've come to realise that affiliates play across most of the networks now, and affiliates will go where the best offers are. And so you have merchants who don't really want the hassle or paying the fees of being represented by 3 or 4 different networks, now consolidating down to 1 or 2. 2 seems to be the kind of end game number. From a merchant perspective, really what we want to look at is the size of the opportunity. And this is kind of a rough and ready chart. What it is really doing is saying, well, where is the opportunity from an affiliate marketing perspective? Affiliate marketing, if you think it's really all about retail transactions, what it depends on is the kind of broadband penetration within that country, and then the GDP or the disposable income within that country, and then how many people are there. So the size of the bubbles are the size of the populations, and then you've got low and high broadband penetration down the bottom, and you've got GDP per head of population on the y-axis. So you think, well, okay, well maybe I should go for the Nordic countries here, or Benelux. But these are difficult markets to get into. They're relatively small populations. Even though they do speak English, most of them, there are some legal issues about each of those. You might think, well, I'll just go for the big markets in the middle here and kind of hedge my bets, and that's not a bad game plan, really. Germany has some kind of cultural issues. Germany is a very funny market. You get something going in Germany and then you can't kind of control it. There seems to be an inertia in Germany. France, of course, it's France, full of French people. It's full of French people, so, it's always going to be difficult. And Spain, Spain's another interesting market, but, Spain's having a really difficult recession, so, maybe you don't want to go there. But on the other hand, you go to Spain and that opens up, the whole Latin, South America, West Coast US, etc. Yeah, please.
Going back to the last slide.
Oh my God.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. We can't work out how to make, well, we don't know how to go back.
And,
do you want to go back to it?
Yeah.
Okay.
GDP is clearly 15% higher in Denmark than it is in the US.
You got it?
The GDP in Denmark is 15% higher than the US. Norway is about 25% higher than the US.
Okay.
I'll bet you on that.
Okay, no, you could easily be right. I mean, the data for this was pulled out a couple of months ago, and this is indicative more than.
But besides that, I think you're right in all your points. And being a European, I think that you have a merchant perspective, but also from an affiliate perspective. I mean, there are so many easy markets because I can see the standards here in the US, they're very, very high, and they have some excellent tracking tools and so on. In Europe, there's hardly any competition. not a Dutch.
So do you live here? Do you live and work here?
No.
You've come across for this?
In Denmark, and I helped establish one.
Okay.
An affiliate company in 5 countries, sold it, and then I'm doing media buying.
Okay.
I work with Webgains also.
Let's have a conversation later. From a merchant perspective, you must make sure that your products conform legally. It happens all over the place, but we had a merchant, in fact it was Yes Asia, who was selling DVDs in Germany, and the Germans got hysterical because some of the DVDs they were selling were classified as adult, and therefore, underage people could get access to them online. We thought it was, a little bit of overkill, but Germans are like that. They're any Germans here? Before I go and insult them. I'm right? Germans are very. It sucks. I wouldn't go that far, but product fulfillment. I mean, you have to work out how you're going to sell this stuff. How you're going to get it over there, how you're going to ship it. What are you going to do about returns? What's your policy on returns? What are you going to do about forward sales? The next Harry Potter book. What are you going to do if you can't deliver it? Product data feeds. I mean, obviously they have to be localized. They have to be in local currencies. They have to have local VAT rates on them. They have to have. There's no real universal yet. There's no real universal product codes which we can apply across the board to all data feeds. So managing your data feeds in different countries is difficult. Customer service. How are you going to do customer service in a different time zone, different language, different cultural mores? What are you going to do about tax and VAT issues? Do you understand that? Can you build it into your business model? How are you going to pay your suppliers, etc.? And lastly, what are you going to do about currency? Are you going to hedge currency? Are you going to use expansion into another country in order to diversify your currency risks? Can you actually get supplied by suppliers in the currency you're going into? From an affiliate perspective, obviously you have the size of opportunity again. Domain names and hosting, how are you going to handle that? How are you going to manage it in different countries? What tools and techniques are you going to be able to roll out? Are you going to be able to take to a new country? What tools and techniques are already there, or where are the opportunities for those tools? How are you going to get paid in the other country, and what currency are you going to get paid in? How are you going to transfer the learnings? And let's say you're really good at doing something in the US, you have a bid buddy technology or something in the US, and you're going to roll it out to another country. Are you going to send the guy who does all that here over there to train them up? And is that going to take his focus away from your home market? So how exactly are you going to kind of roll out these different technologies and learnings? What competitors are there in that market? And especially when you're doing PPC, who controls the game there, and how aggressive are they, and how much money you're going to have to spend to establish a position, things like that. And how much resource do you have, and how much bandwidth do you have for doing this, because it's all incredibly time intensive. Well, happily networks are here. And networks can help you. What you really want is a lead account manager, and then localized account managers for each program in each of the countries. We found that's by far the best way. You can liaise, as a merchant, you can liaise with a lead account manager, or even as an affiliate. And then that lead account manager can send out all of your signals and your demands to the other countries. We know about local market conditions. We already have presence there. We've been there for a number of years. We know we have relationships with the local affiliates and the local merchants, and we know about commission structures. We understand who your competitors are. We understand what their USPs are. We understand what commission you're going to have to pitch to get a program off the ground. We understand the strategy and tactics of using different commissions in different areas, what kind of pricing you need to do. And we can give advice on local website design. And not just conforming that website to be suitable for affiliate marketing, but also in helping you to convert better. Obviously, we do aggregated invoices and aggregated payments where we can. So how do you pick a network? Well, you have to have one which has got a local office, I think, which has got a local office where you want to be. It's pretty self-evident. And the network has to be dedicated to your success. I mean, there's no point in picking a network that just goes and ignores you for a while. You really have to pick a network who's going to be dedicated to making your business succeed. Also, I think you need a network that's sympathetic to your culture and your way of doing business. You really need kind of people like yourselves who are going to be interested in what you do. The network has to be experienced and have to have obviously experienced account managers, and they have to have some great local relationships to help you succeed. Any questions? Yeah.
Excellent presentation.
Oh, thank you.
A
few. Great.
Laws, obviously you have to know laws are all separate between different countries. Customs, I guess you have to check out what goes on, but if we're shipping out products through FedEx,
yeah,
there's customs labels that have to get filled out.
Yeah, unless you, I mean, a lot of people establish warehousing in Europe and then do fulfillment from there.
Yes.
And if you do it cleverly, like you can do it in Jersey or the Channel Islands and avoid the VAT thing, because there's a VAT, we can go into more detail later, but there's a VAT restrictions in Europe. Obviously, you have to pay VAT if you're selling within Europe.
Okay.
But Jersey, because if it's from a different country, then you can get away with not paying the VAT.
I've got a few questions. So I'll just
okay, yeah.
Credit cards here in the U.S. are very prevalent, but from what I understand in Germany, maybe not so. So there's more like e-wallet type of
I don't have credit cards in Germany.
Okay.
But then when you go to Denmark, you don't need money. I mean, you can buy anything with a credit card. You can pay a taxi fare with a credit card.
And same as what's from people have credit cards, they're not going to give them online. Like they're just afraid.
Yes. That's right.
It's impossible or really hard in Switzerland to get people like for CPS offers. They're not going to give you a credit card. So
how do you transact if it's not a credit card?
I don't know.
They have, well, in Germany.
You don't transact.
Everyone failed to enter the German market. I mean, all the affiliate networks I know in Northern Europe and in the UK went there. At Pepper also, they failed in the German market because that's just a problem.
Not to denigrate between Denmark, but I didn't know the difference between DE and DK.
Okay, DE is Germany and DK is Denmark. Sorry.
SE is
Sweden, yeah.
You used the term that I didn't see, USPs.
Unique selling proposition, sorry, yeah. Yeah, unique selling proposition, it means, what are you doing that's special? What are you doing differently from your competitors?
Okay, and my last question would be, because there's so many different dialects, even just, we both speak English, you speak the Queen's English.
Well, I speak Australian, so.
Localized, you spell it differently than I might spell it.
Yeah, we have S's and you guys have Z's,
right.
Yeah.
So my question then would be, if you want to keep just one site, and you want to market through the major countries in Europe, you have a currency issue. Obviously, the UK is very proud of their
not so proud these days, but yeah.
of their currency and keeping away from the euros. So you have the euros. So, and then I guess the question is twofold: language and currency. How can you maintain that as a merchant on one site? Yeah,
it's really tough. And I throw time zone into it. I mean, a lot of American companies go to the UK because it's easy. You're in the time zone pretty much. It's in English, so you can operate pretty well. The currency and cultural mores are fairly similar. You don't run into the kind of problems where, you talk about credit cards in Germany, but they don't have checks in Germany. I mean, people literally don't have checks. So a lot of people establish a bridgehead in the UK and then pick off European markets or do it all from the UK.
Okay, so...
But equally, I mean, language is not that much of an issue really in Germany or the Scandinavian countries or Netherlands. They all speak English.
So not to sound overly ignorant, this would be my last question.
Yeah, because there's a forest of arms back there, but yeah.
UK seems to be the simplest to jump in across the pond.
Yeah, I think that's right.
What's the second country that would be the easiest and the third?
Sweden. Really?
I think there's the currency issue. We're not really talking about that, but the thing is that a lot of things went down dollar-wise. So the dollar to euro is very interesting parameter in choosing the country. And I think the Swedish has the highest broadband penetration in the world. I mean, and you go to, for instance, Facebook.com, you can see how many people are on Facebook in these countries. You can see what the interests are. You can find out exactly the demand for your product.
So there's more consumer data available?
Yeah.
That's my pleasure.
I actually disagree. I would say Australia was, we entered into the UK, and Australia turned out to be our second biggest market. If we're looking down here.
Yeah, sure.
France
What?
Mind if I ask what you want to sell in Australia?
We're an affiliate, so
Oh.
we're not a merchant, sorry.
So Australia's just strong enough. Okay, great.
Australia was
Yeah, I mean, I think Australia has, we used to say computer penetration, but, yeah, I think Australia has, reasonably developed technical infrastructure, and because it's, there's only 20 million people in Australia, it's fairly diverse, and it's a very big country. People tend to transact on the internet a lot more.
So we're using UK as our beachhead. I have all the infrastructure things solved. I have a .co.uk website. Now I need customers. So what are the, and get my site known hopefully through affiliate marketing. So what are some of the barriers
To getting it.
pervasive in the market?
Getting yourself established within the market, yeah? Well, traditional online marketing. Google put out a white paper recently where they said you can build a brand name in any market using Google AdWords in 4 weeks. It just depends how much money you want to throw at it. But, traditional marketing techniques, get yourself into the papers, it really depends on how much time and effort you're going to spend on getting yourself established. It depends on your product. It depends what you're selling.
Does article marketing work in the UK?
Sorry, article marketing?
Like easy in articles, that sort of thing.
I don't understand the concept. Can somebody explain?
About.com, there's sites out there that are dedicated towards giving information to consumers.
Uh-huh.
Designs is one of them.
Okay.
About is another.
Okay.
Does that kind of, I guess, I would call it more organic traffic generation. Does that sort of traffic generation work?
Tends to be shopping portals in UK. So it tends to be people who'll do a shopping site, and it'll be a multi-product, data feed driven, in selling everything. So that's.
In terms of a traffic buy, let's say, is it the major for the MSNs, the Yahoos? Do they have a network of people you can go through to buy?
Yeah, there's a lot of brokers who deal in media. Sure.
How about the general comfort of the market to buying online? Like, for example, we're an online printing service, and I just see in terms of keyword counts, there just isn't, I know the U.S. obviously is a lot bigger.
Yeah.
But just in the U.S., the interest from looking at the keywords in online.
I think
Sorry,
you.
I'm totally
No. I think you'd have to look at the market. The UK, it's significant and established, and online is, continues to prosper and won't look back. You disagree?
No, I just recently I did some research on the UK sites like BBC.
Okay.
Maybe a local through a proxy just to see, and I just find that the amount of advertising on BBC was 20% of the, so let's say at an MSN here in the US. I'm thinking to myself, where are the ads?
Yeah, but you're talking about BBC. Yeah, but you have to understand, BBC is a national institution, and they're not even allowed to advertise. In the United Kingdom.
So I'm just the wrong way.
You just picked a site that. Yeah, they have a kind of a special charter where they're allowed to put advertising on the international sites, but in the UK, there's no way. BBC television and radio has no advertising, none at all. So you picked a special case there. Yeah.
We're also a US company, and we're thinking about warehousing in Europe.
Uh-huh.
And so I look at some of the websites in Europe, and their shopping cart integration is atrocious in trying to sell customers in Germany or in France and all that. So I'm wondering what sort of rules are in place. So if you had a warehousing in England, what the laws are in place to stop you, or can you just sell to Germany, someone in Germany, or in taxes?
You can sell to Germany and you can sell to other countries, although it depends on the value of the product. And you get some really interesting things popping up, like generally in the UK they won't apply VAT to a product that costs less than $10 or £10. So if I buy 4 or 6 CDs from America, they send them to me one at a time.
Oh,
Okay, so I don't have to pay the VAT, and they keep their prices low, but they pay for it in the postage, and they do a deal with the postal service.
And the other question is, how does PayPal in Europe?
How does it work?
Yeah, how big is it?
Oh, no, it's huge. It's very big, yeah. We pay our affiliates through PayPal. So. Yeah, it's a standard payment method, and it's in all major countries. All of our, we're in 9 countries, and all of our countries pay by PayPal now, I think.
It's a
Yeah, okay. Well, maybe I'm, from a...
Not in Scandinavia.
Nobody in Scandinavia.
We did not pay our affiliates. We had 7,000 affiliates. We didn't have the option to pay. We were the largest affiliate network in Scandinavia.
In Denmark?
In Scandinavia.
In Scandinavia. But where were you operating from?
In Denmark.
Because in Denmark...
Finland.
There are all these kind of little rules and regulations. Like in Denmark, you have to have the social security number of your affiliates. If they don't give you the social security number, you don't pay them anything. In Spain, you have to, if an affiliate is registered for VAT, the government doesn't trust the affiliate to pay the VAT, so you have to withhold half the VAT on behalf of the affiliate and pay that to your government. So there's a lot of kind of different little kind of rules and regulations.
Not even by consumers very much.
Really?
The problem is that when you have to approve your PayPal account, you have to get this 4-digit code from the bank. And a lot of people tried that. I tried that. I worked into marketing for 10 years. I couldn't get that 4-digit. They charge your credit card up to $2 just to verify that it's you. So you get this 4-digit code.
Yeah, that's right.
From the bank transcript.
That's right.
The banks, they don't provide that.
Whereas you see in the UK and France and Germany, we've had no trouble whatsoever, and we pay by PayPal weekly. I mean, it is slow. PayPal in Europe's headquartered in France. And their customer service sucks. It really does. Okay. Woo.
Just a quick question regarding the graph before. Had most countries from continental Europe, I didn't know it was Italy out there.
Yeah, we're not in Italy actually. Italy's a whole different ball game.
Like broadband penetration or...
We should be in Italy, but we're having a few structural issues. We haven't done the research for me to be able to answer your question. Does anybody know Italy very well? Do you know? No. No, I mean, Italy's a substantial market. The online market's substantial.
I know there's a lot of Facebook users for whatever that goes for.
So, I think it's, especially if you have some kind of links with Italy, it's definitely a market worth considering. It's just that, I'm not familiar with it. I've never rolled out into Italy, and we have an AdPepper office there, but we haven't rolled Webgains out there yet. So, yeah? Yeah, again, I mean, I think the UK is very open. France, you have to have a registered business name to have a .fr. Australia's the same. You have to have an ABN, a business number in Australia, in order to have a .com.au. So, different countries have different rules and regulations about whether you can apply for those domain names.
Is there any issue in the UK with being an American company and representing yourself?
We welcome everybody. No, I mean, there's obviously work permits and immigration and stuff like that, but...
I'm not worried about that, but, we have a .co.uk site, a .com US site.
Yeah.
So I say we're this great US company, hey, we've come to the UK to do business.
Yeah.
Or so I say, hey, we're now, we're this local UK company.
Yeah, it's cool.
I think, there's always been a kind of a close rapport between the Americans and the British. So, I don't think there's any issue about, the UK is full of American companies doing business. We tend to find it a bit harder coming the other way, but yeah, no, I don't think you have any problems. Yeah?
What would you say are top 5 European affiliate networks?
The top 5?
Yeah.
Oh, Webgains. No, Trade Doubler, without any doubt. I mean, Trade Doubler dominates Europe, it really does. They've been established for, 12, 14 years now. Sorry? Trade Doubler. Yeah, I mean, for me, it's like drawing breath, but you guys obviously find it a bit difficult. They've never come... Trade Doubler. No? Yeah. TradeDoubler. That's my accent. I'll say it in French. Trade Doubler, definitely, without any doubt. Xanox is probably, for my mind, the only affiliate network that's gone truly global and that they can represent you in many, many countries. They don't have the depth of affiliates in most markets that they'd like to have, and there's an interesting takeover where they took over Affiliate Window, which is a big UK affiliate network, last week. Took 51% of it. Affiliate Net is quite strong across Europe, out of Germany. Now I'm struggling a bit, aren't I?
That's four. One more.
Who else am I getting? Webgains, there you go. Yeah, I mean, CJ is pretty strong. You know, CJ is pretty strong in Europe. Linkshare's just come into the UK. I don't think they're in any of the other countries yet. But, you know, the American networks are moving over.
Would there be any challenges to simply having offered that take international traffic from U.S. networks?
No, I mean, I'm trying to think of...
Distance, right? You set up a server over there.
Absolutely, yeah, it's all virtual, and yeah. I mean, I don't...
Pass laws, nothing like that, if you're aware of.
Not that I know of, no. I mean, there is an issue about, you know, in the US about paying affiliates, but in the UK we just pay you. We don't really care. I mean, it seems to be, you know, the UK seems to be pretty kind of flexible is the right word I should use. Yeah, when it comes to paying, I mean, we don't need national insurance numbers or social security numbers or anything like that. We just pay.
Would that be good?
Yeah.
Are there any networks that deal more with B2B companies?
Yeah, B2B is an interesting one. We're getting kind of more and more B2B traffic, and I mean, there's been discussion over the last year or two about, you know, how big B2B can be, how big B2B is going to be in the future, and you know, are there tools that we need, or, you know, is there a special approach to it from affiliates, or, you know, how should it work? What we have noticed is that the B2B merchants we have on our networks have really suffered in the recession, because a lot of it is small and medium enterprise B2B, and so it's, you know, taking us down over the last year. But it's, I mean, yeah, we're watching it. Do you guys have Regis here, the office space people? Yeah, I mean, we've just picked, Regis has just signed with us, so, you know, we're going to watch that and see how interesting that is. And we have Viking, which is, I think, Home Depot, one of the big kind of stationery supply in Europe, which again has suffered a lot in the recession. But it's an interesting question. Anything else? Yeah?
So, earlier Webgains, but I think I heard you mention someone else too, that did you guys have an agency? I work as an independent consultant for a company that has already gone through the process of opening up in the UK a couple of years ago.
Okay.
And so what I'm looking at is I've been in affiliate marketing for the last 3 years and kind of making the transition over to network marketing, and really looking to see, okay, how can I utilize affiliate networking to connect and pull those leads in to recruit some consultants and then find customers. So my question was the same as yours. Great, so we're set up there.
But you're not getting much traction in the market?
Well, I'm sure they are, but I'm an independent consultant, so I have not even started to go to the UK. I have one rep in Australia, but I'm very interested because it's a really open market.
Yes.
And we're new there. I mean, we've been in the US for 30 years, we've only been in it for 2, so just math.
Yeah.
But same thing you're talking about in terms of culture, language. You know, I've done enough traveling to know that specifically South Americans that really have no idea what they're doing. Did you as an agency or your agency work on more of the kind of the person? I know there's a couple classes here where they're talking about not just the anonymous click on the website, but how do you start taking affiliate marketing to the street, where you're, you know, CJ just launched their affiliate marketing where you're bringing calls in, or there's a class here of using affiliate marketing to start driving people into real locations.
Okay,
And
so
I'm trying to look at affiliate marketing and say, how can I start?
How can you bridge the gap between off and online? Yeah.
And UK would be a great place to do that.
Yeah, and there are a number of different models you can start. You can kind of start with. One is kind of call center integration, which you really need to get the technology right. And a lot of that's happened, especially with telcos in the UK, where there've been, you know, lead generation or other, you know, signing of contracts, etc., where you integrate with the telco, where you integrate with the call center. Secondly, discount vouchers obviously, you know, kind of lead themselves where you've got online and offline aspects to it. You can get a discount voucher, you can print it off and go and take it into your local store. But there are kind of, number of... Come and see me afterwards and we can and touch base on it.
So does Webgains work similarly to, let's say, a direct agents in the United States where, let's say I want you to go out and find affiliates to promote my product?
Okay, we're an affiliate network, so we have a network of affiliates in every country. And we sell affiliate marketing programs to merchants, and then the merchant comes along and we take them through a detailed kind of consultation process. And then we introduce them to, or we recruit affiliates onto that program. We can't make affiliates promote you. We don't own affiliate sites ourselves. We're not affiliates. We're a network that sits wholly in between. So we kind of deal with both the affiliate side and the merchant side.
If I look at CJ as like a passive, they have a ton of affiliates.
Yeah, I mean, that's how most networks work, right? They put the merchants up, they kind of communicate what the advertisers do to the affiliates, and they wait for the affiliates to do that. And that's really why we developed this site seeker tool, because now we know what traffic our affiliates are driving to us, and we know what sectors they're in. So it makes us, we might have an affiliate who tells us that all they do is DVDs and CDs, but actually we know that they have a fashion site, or they have a footwear site, and that's incredibly useful information for us, because we can go back to them and say, look, we've got these merchants that do specialist niche footwear or whatever. They're perfect for this site that you've never told us about. So I think, there's two ways of doing it. One is you're letting technology do the work for you. But the second part, the really important part, is knowing who your affiliates are, understanding the relationships and having the relationships to get those affiliates to work. Obviously, the proposition has to be right for the affiliate, because a lot of merchants say, well, you promised me, I know I'm only paying 0.5% commission, but you promised me lots of affiliates. And it's like, well, guys, you've got to have a retail commission, you've got to have a realistic commission structure in order to get affiliates to promote you.
You're a CEO of the company, but I work with you guys, and I think you have some active publisher manager who goes out actively and recruits new web partners, whereas TradeDouble is very passive, and they don't find a lot of new publishers. So I think that the people you have employed actually do the job, as he talks about, saying, okay, I have this merchant, I want to find some websites. They go to websites similar to Alexa.com, but that are more regional, and they find the websites.
Thank you. That's exactly what I want to hear. I mean,
TradeDouble doesn't do that.
No, but they're 12 years old, and in Scandinavia they have 93% market share. We're the new boys on the block. We've got to be better than them, and that's what we've tried to be. And that's why we say results through relationships, because we understand that it's really a relationship business. Yeah.
I think during your presentation you may have said something very, very briefly. You were talking about UK and affiliate fraud and fraud on the traffic.
Yeah.
And I think you made a comment that you said that you were a step away from sharing information.
Yeah. Did I say that? Yeah. I mean, we have data protection laws, in Europe, which are pretty stringent. I know you guys have them too, but which are pretty stringent and more difficult in some markets. Having said that, the fraudsters will hit us, and we'll find them, and we'll kick them off the network, and then they'll go to DGM, or they'll go to TradeDouble, or they'll just work their way through the network. So there's been some discussions within the hallowed walls of the IAB about whether we shouldn't just get together and share this kind of information, and how much information we'd share, and what exactly we would share, etc. Nothing's happened about it yet. It tends to happen at an event like this, where I'll meet up with somebody from another network and we'll say, have you had that bastard blah blah blah, so I mean, it tends to be more informal at the moment, or it might be that somebody says, we're suspicious about this person, have you had any dealings with them? But I think in an ideal world we should be sharing this sort of stuff, because it does the industry a lot of damage. Somehow, especially from a network point of view, because we sit in the middle, merchants blame us when there's fraud on their program, even if it's credit card fraud that happens on their website, and it's their fraud detection techniques that are at fault, and that's often the case. Somehow they think that because we have a network of affiliates, that all those affiliates have to be perfectly screened and absolutely legitimate, and will never indulge in that kind of behaviour. But that's just an unrealistic kind of point of view. So I think, looking towards the future, I think we should be sharing more and more. All of the networks in the UK have overhauled their fraud management techniques in the last year. I mean, now what we do is pretty sophisticated, but we don't like to talk about it. I mean, we can't talk about it because, the fraud, we've got to keep one step ahead of the fraudsters. Yeah?
Do you have any thoughts at all on Asia, our Asian market?
Xanox is the only network who's really rolled into Asia, and I don't know how well they've penetrated. I think it's a great opportunity for us as a network to move certainly into India, where it's mainly English language. There's a lot of there's a kind of a really solid middle class. It's a country that's really developing. It's got a very strong technical base. In terms of Southeast Asia and China, difficult markets. You need a lot of resource. We haven't done it. Some people have gone into Japan. Some Japanese have come over here. Yeah, interesting market. Obviously, it's one of the big developing markets. We do some stuff in South America, but mainly through Spain and Portugal. So we haven't gone to South America either. But good question. I mean, definitely one for the future. Thanks very much for your time.